first draft was kind of a train wreck. I was super hungover from the banquet. I landed a 1-2, drew my draft. Maybe I just collect my 3-packs and go.
And then boom, you made it all the way up.
That's when we fully assimilated to the Dong squads.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the WINANDIN podcast. This is a very special episode because today I have a great special guest, Mr. Jonathan Wyatt. How you doing?
I am not the special guest here, but thank you.
No, today we have amongst us one of the top players in the world because he is officially one of the top 8 in the world. Mr. Wesley Dong, how are you doing today?
Hello, everyone. I'm doing good.
All right. Yeah, we got a superstar. We're slowly but surely getting more and more guests on here. So we're becoming something.
Blessed, you know, like, and I gotta say, like, this is like a Wayne's World moment for me because it's like, you know, we're not worthy. So,
yeah.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Definitely. This is actually my first podcast that I've done for Post Worlds.
Yeah, well, you know, we're really vultures.
Yeah, he got in quick.
Really
it's like as soon as I top 8, let's you want to come on our podcast?
I was like, I know that guy. We can get him in. We can milk him.
Table waiting at the right when he saw your name coming out of the printer. He was like, "All right."
Well, but it's really cool because we do know each other. We both are in the Vegas area. We both have played each other many times. In fact, the first time I came to Vegas and I played at, I think it was a skirmish, and we faced each other in top 8. I took that game, but I remember thinking, I was like, all right, this guy's good.
Was that the Blitz one?
That's when you like whiffed on a Sonata.
Oh, that's when I tried to play Viserai, and then you demolished me on Oldham.
Yeah.
Yep, I remember.
Yep, that was it. But I remember thinking, even then, I was trying to like, get a feel of like, all right, who's good, who's bad here. I knew about Peter just because I knew where his ranking was. But then, after that, I was like, oh, okay, all right, I'll have to watch out for this guy too. Sure enough. But yeah, so that was the cool thing is that we already knew each other. We played each other many times, and so we both went to Worlds. We both competed, but you went the whole way.
And you heard it here first. Take out Sonata, and you get into Worlds. Like, let's go.
Well, apparently not, because I got whooped in the top 8 with Sonata.
Really? Okay.
He Sonated into like a second Earth, and I was like, wow, you got me.
I know, dude, that was rough to watch because you were playing my hero. I had 2 reasons.
I wanted to get him out of here. Get that Oldham guy out of here. He's like that guy that's just like he's the guy that's always creeping around. He's always there.
He's
always like
there.
Just there, and then he just doesn't win, so he doesn't have. It's like Prism, you know what I mean? He's just always there, and just won't living legend, and you have to deal with this ice menace every time. I want to go back to playing Bravo, some real heroes.
I'm a little surprised that you're not like a huge Oldham fan. Like, just hearing this now, but like I guess you just chose him because it was a good meta call for you.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Why Oldham?
Originally I was gonna play 5.
Look at Jonathan with the transitions.
Originally I was gonna play 5. I think yeah. Get him out of here. So
all right, yeah. So originally 5.
I've been playing 5 for forever. Eric knows. Vegas locals has been just Fi infested. I've been working with some of the other people, John, Sean, Kenny.
Peter was on Fi.
He was on Fi after. He didn't believe for a while.
Okay.
Okay. But it was Fi is like, it's just like mono red, right? It's just always good, and if people stumble, you just get them. And it was actually pretty hard to play once you get to a higher level. I think playing against hate as Fi is really hard, actually. So I think with the pulse ban,
okay,
I noticed that there was a huge shift in the meta in terms of how Oldhim was being built. I think originally Oldhim was built with Oakenold and Pulse, and you had a couple more Earth cards. But Oakenold was really, really strong. And if you weren't playing Oakenold, you would just probably lose the mirror. It feels like it's like one of those things that is also it's a game ender, and it's pretty disruptive.
It's like one of the best pivot cards in the game.
Yeah. So now that people don't have to play Oakenold because Pulse is banned, like there's like less reason to play it. You can also cut the crappy Earth cards, and now you have a ton of Ice cards. So the Ultimate Mirror changed a bit. Like they started playing like Glacials and well, actually, I guess they started playing that even before the Pulse ban. But now the mirror is more about just like having higher quality cards, and then you have all these great Ice cards. So originally, I thought the Phi matchup was super favored. So when I played it at PT2, everyone was still on the defensive list. You can't fatigue Phi. Just you'll just get damage stacked and you just lose. But now that they're just playing Ice cards, I noticed that when I was playing my friend Spencer, I just couldn't keep more than 3 cards. And with that, it's like you either have to hope that they whiff, which is very difficult when they're playing like 14 to 16 Ice cards, a ton of pummels, and you're playing like 15 attacks. It just gets really difficult to miss. And so I realized maybe Phi is not the choice, and maybe I'll be the deck that beats Phi. And then we played some mirror matches, and I felt okay with it. I'm pretty comfortable playing Guardian, but it was definitely like a deck that I auto-build to last minute. Like I learned how to use Talisher on Tuesday before the tournament, and I played like 7 games, and that was kind of it.
7.
You're like, I'm good to go.
It was I did not win all of them, but it just definitely taught me that like Phi was it felt like it was really hard. Like I didn't have the list, and whenever I pick a deck for a big tournament, I like to pick a deck that has an edge against other decks, especially like either it's a mirror or something.
100% with you on that. I mean, I also went Oldhim, and I went 0-3 in the draft sections, but I went 4-1 in the CC, and yeah, I just was just conquering Phi.
Oh man, this guy got into Worlds through his limited elo.
Yeah, he's insane. Yeah.
Yep, I sure did, and I will be gracefully falling to probably past 100 after this.
I think we can definitely use that as a transition into how you did for the events, like day 1 and day 2. But really, I think one of the interesting things is a lot of the discussions that I've seen from other players in the scene for Dynasty Draft. It's like not only do they agree that Dynasty is super punishing, but they're happy that it's gone.
Uprising.
Or Uprising. I apologize. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
but they're not only was it difficult, to find success in Uprising, but like they're happy that it's gone now. So how do you feel about that?
That's how I feel. Yeah.
Eric,
First
you
off,
first.
Okay. I just want to ask the question real quick because I think this is huge because I remember when people would complain about Tales of Aria. I had a great experience with Tales of Aria. That's how I got my elo so high. So obviously, I believe it was a great deck or a great drafting set. So the first thing I want to ask you, Wes, before you answer Jonathan's question is how did you do during the draft session? Like, what was your overall record with the 6 games of draft?
I was 1-2 and then 3-0, so I was 4-2.
Okay. Now, how do you feel about Uprising as a draft set?
Uprising is, I think it's interesting. Think of it at like the higher level. When I was drafting in PT2, I knew that most of the pro players pro players as in like people that have been in the circuit and like playing a lot more, as opposed to people who are just practicing and they qualified for the Pro Quest, right? Because like everyone on the Pro Tour is technically a pro, right? But I think like the more of the enfranchised player, they were all on Icelander. And so for me, I actually felt better being on Dromai. and that's kind of what I drafted at Worlds, not intentionally. I kind of just fell into it,
Okay.
but well, maybe I didn't fall into it. We'll get into that after that. But I think like because of that, you have like 3 layers, right? There's people who are the five forcers, and then there's going to be people who are the Icelander people who are very practiced into fight and they know how to beat the Dromai matchup. And then there's people like me who are like in the tertiary tier where I'm going to play Dromai and I'm going to beat up on the Icelanders and I'll take my loss against Fi. Usually, I don't think that's a great strategy. And at Nationals, like I wasn't trying to force Fi, but I got 2 red mounting angers past me, like the most insane Fi deck. And it was going to be a 3-0, but I choked in the last round and I lost to Dromai. So I think like the safest to play is to always play Fi. And then if you're good, then you practice Icelander and, you know, you can play Dromai. But I think it's interesting when you metagame, but I think overall the draft format is pretty bad. Because of the yellows. Like either you want red cards or you want blue cards, right? But the yellow cards dilute the pool. And I think that's part of the reason why I felt my first draft was really bad.
That's a really good point.
I fell into Dromai early, but all my cards were yellow. I had like 5 or 6 yellows in my first pack, and those were my Dromai cards. And I was like, oh, I'm just playing Prism. So I think it's really easy to get punished in this draft. Pivoting is really hard because unless you're playing Fi, you know what I mean? Hard. Like you get 3 Phoenix Flames. Yeah. Playing cracked baubles in this deck in this format is pretty detrimental, and I think the devs did like a pretty good job balancing Ice and Draconic. I don't know how they managed to do that, but I still think like usually the best draft pods are like 4 Fis, 2 Dromai, and 2 Icelander.
I'd agree on that. Yeah, it seems that way. I think what I've learned is that it's not so much like I feel like it's so different from Tails, because with Tails you're going off drafting principles. You're staying open, you're not selecting a hero immediately, you're feeling out the pod, and you'll know what your neighbor is, and your both your neighbors, even your neighbor 2 people down will be, and I feel like it's a more traditional sense.
Yeah,
but when it comes to Uprising, you're gonna eventually know what your neighbors are, but it's more because you're gonna know if your draft is going very good or very bad. And I think what you said there, I think is a very good point. It's maybe that's why I didn't do so well. It's because instead of just going off the traditional draft values, maybe instead I should just like expect 5 forcers, expect Icelander people, and draft to the people and not to what I'm seeing necessarily as far as the cards.
It definitely felt like
that might be
like you said in Aria, you could both be Oldhams next to each other, but one person can be an Ice Oldham and the other person can be an Earth Oldham, and you guys are not stepping on each other's toes for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's it was so open of a set. It was so nice, but this one feels so close. I'm very curious how the next draft set will be. I gotta imagine it won't be this Y format where you have 2 Draconic and 1 Ice. I gotta imagine it'll be something.
This makes me curious to revisit Monarch, actually, because that was like 2 shadow,
like a little like the square, or the H or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it's bad. Okay, I like that. That's that's why you did much better than I, because you're had a better draft sense.
Yeah, draft
I would say
definitely the maker or breaker for a lot of people. So
yeah, it definitely. Oh, man, maybe a little like side note on like the format of Worlds. You definitely have to be really good at draft because you play more draft than anything else.
That's the most played format,
and I think
other than like when you go to top 8.
To be honest, I think I got lucky in draft. My first draft was kind of a train wreck. I was super hungover from the banquet the day before, and yes. I landed a 1-2 Dromai draft because I had a bunch of yellows as well. The first pack was really weak, and I got punished for not just staying in Icelander. But I was able to beat like an Icelander opponent because they just got fatigued. And then I played against the two out of the 3 Fis in the next 2 rounds. And even though their decks were pretty, I would say like lower powered Fi decks, they just still ran me over. Whereas the second day,
because it's so.
The second day I pack one picked one a Necria because I was like, you know what, that's one of the reasons. That's one of the cues to go into Dromai. I think like if you open a Necria or a Kyloria, that's when I would draft Dromai. And so I'm like, Dromai is feast or famine for me, but I'm just gonna try it. And then I get past like Red Rakes, another Necria. I take all of the dragons in the first pack, and then by pack 3 I open a Furnace. So that was pretty much why like having 3 extra life against all the other players.
Oh yeah,
it really helped.
That's where that sparkle in your eye came from.
Yeah.
Okay. So
it was
kind of a side point here that I just wanted to quickly discuss going over the Uprising draft. In Tales of Aria, I felt like you could hate draft at least 1 or 2 cards, given if the slot allowed for that. Do you feel like Uprising allowed for that at all?
If you're paying a lot of attention in your draft, then yeah. I remember hearing in one of the other podcasts, I think Attack for 20, Yuanji was talking about how he counted how many cards he had for his current deck and how many cards he could waste. And so like if you know how many cards you need to at least get like 31 cards in your deck, then you can perhaps sacrifice a few for hate drafting. But I feel like it's almost not worth it to hate draft in this set because sometimes you just end up not having any cards.
I'll hate draft the Kyloria on pack 1, and then I'm going.
But you're not gonna go into
Dromai. If I see another Dromai card in pack 2, then it's like, all right, looks like I'm not hate drafting anymore. I'm locked in.
I think one thing I do think about this format is like, it feels like if your partners know how to draft and they signal to you what to draft, then you're going to be in a better time. But they could get screwed because the person next to them could be forcing. So I don't know. It's bad. It's bad.
It is. Yes. Thank you.
Well, we were, great that you were able to rise from the ashes of the Uprising draft.
Oh yeah.
All right.
That's a one.
Oh man. I do want to mention because you mentioned how you were hungover. I want to give that little story out because I really like this story a lot. So I get to the hotel Friday. We're in the same hotel. Yeah. I come in late, so I didn't do the banquet because I drove, and so I came in late. And I was hanging out with the rest of the Sneep guys, and they're heading back to the room. I see Wes, so obviously I'm gonna go say hi to Wes. And then he you put your arm around me, and you're like, "Hey, man, I'm happy."
Oh yeah.
I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, cool, man." You're like, "I'm just gonna get my 3 packs and go." I was like, "Well, I mean, don't do that." And then we sit for players meeting the next day. You're beside me, and you're like, "Dude, I'm so hungover." I'm like, "Oh man, it's gonna be a rough day for Wesley. It's gonna be a rough day." And then, boom, you made it all the way up.
Yeah, like even backtracking before that, I was supposed to qualify for Worlds from constructed Elo. I think I was at like 1780, which was like 17th, right behind Pablo.
Okay.
But I played at Nationals. I 2-1'd my draft, but I choked in the last round against Dromai. He went Uvia Necria. Right. I was like, I was gonna kill you, but now I have to break your board. So I break his board, and then like I had one misplay that cost me the game. It was like I dealt 1 damage short or something like that, and then he ended up coming back, and he had the tempo, and then he would just swing with Ember Moss at the end, and I just had to block. And then I get paired into, so we go into CC, play against Dromai first round. I am playing combo Fi. I don't see either Belittle or Art of War until like turn 6 or 7. and I just end up losing to him going like Sigil Solace Embermaw, Sigil Solace Embermaw. And I'm like, terrible psychic damage. This is when I was saying like, you know, no Mask of Momentum, no Kodachis. Those are for pussies. Forget it. We don't need them. And I was like, man, this is just terrible psychic damage. I'm regretting my decision. I'm 2-2 at Nationals. I'm just like, oh my God. I'm just going to need to get some constructed ELO and just call it a day. Play round 5. I play against Bravo. I'm like, oh no. Oh no. So I lose. I win my next 2. I'm 2-2 in CC. And I drop from Nationals because I'm like, I don't want to draft anymore. Screw this. I'll just play the calling. Calling next day, first round, Bravo. Just completely get rolled. Second round, Bravo. I'm like, oh man, this is a bad weekend. Managed to win in the end. And then I ended up like going 6-1 the first day. Yeah. It was actually pretty cool. I was like, oh, this is great for my constructed ELO. And then day 2, I win my first round, and then I think I lose to Jimmy Lee in the mirror match. And then I just keep on bouncing back and forth. I think I win like this really crazy game against Pummel Icelander. It was like 30 something damage, exact lethal through all the cards and the tunic. And then the turn before they pummeled a Frostfang on me. So I was like, man, that was crazy. It was one of those Art of War into Belittle turns. So, but my final round, I get paired against Bravo. I get rewarded for my hard work for another match of Bravo, and I just lose because sometimes it's just the 5 versus Bravo matchup is pretty hard, and you have to play tight, and you have to get a little lucky.
That's the gauntlet.
So after all of that, I ended up going like negative 58 in ELO for constructed.
Oh no.
And I think overall that weekend I went 2-2 in CC and 8-4 in the calling. I think I get 32nd, and I was so surprised that I lost so much ELO. But it's because like I guess the ELO difference it was really punishing for me, and I end up being 4 points out of top 50.
Oh no!
Yeah,
kidding.
so I was like 57th. And so I was like, oh man. That's why when I played at, I think, Battlehard in Dallas, I start 0-2 with Fi, and I'm just like, oh man, I'm so deflated. I'm so demotivated. And then I think about getting a gifted PTI. I end up getting one. And so by the time we roll into Worlds, that's why I was like, man, I don't really feel like playing Flesh and Blood. I guess I should practice. The banquet was really fun. I had like 6 or 7 drinks, and then current day. Hey Eric, I'm so hammered right now. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I didn't really feel too prepared for Worlds, so I was kind of just like, maybe I'll just collect my 3 packs and go and play some games and just enjoy my time, because at that point I was I was happy with the experience, hanging out with friends, meeting some new people.
Yeah.
But yeah, my draft was kind of bad.
Yeah, so I'm curious, like, it must have been just how you've been playing CC that kind of like kept you going.
Yeah, in CC I started my first round and played against Lexi, and I was like, oh, things are coming up Millhouse.
I love that.
I don't know. They also I think it was against a player from either Singapore or Taiwan, I think, and they were targeting Fi and Briar. So I think like very valid choice, but probably I wouldn't play a deck that was 30% into Oldhim.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Oldhim just blocks that all day.
Yeah. So it was like a very easy match, unfortunately. And then round 5, so the second CC round, I played against this great player from I think Singapore again. He was playing Dash, and
that could be a tough one.
It was it's tough, but I think like I'm playing Oldhim closer to like Bravo or Starvo, where it's more aggressive.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, I have a chance, but I don't have that much time. They end up setting up Exodia by like turn 4, like turn 5 or 6. So like every turn was
Okay.
just block, Spark of Genius for my first piece, block, play my second piece, block, Spark of Genius, and I was like, oh, you know, he's at like 28 or something by the time he sets it up, and I'm just like, this is not going well, and I ended up just like playing out the next 20 minutes, but at that point I was 2-3, so I was feeling not very good.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe my deck choice was wrong. I'm playing against all these wacky decks like Lexi and Dash. And my draft was not so great. And, just continued playing on. I ended up playing against Phi. And then the Ultimate Mirror, which I think his deck was way better for the Mirror. It was like 3 Glacials, 3 Thunderquakes, Mage Master Boots plus Tome of Findle, Heart of Findle. But in the end, I had a very like simple strategy for the Mirror. I think Sledge makes the Mirror really boring, but it's really effective.
That's what you do.
Yeah. His plan was actually like Shield plus was it Rampart plus Whale, and towards the end game, the 1 extra Frostbite actually makes it really annoying for you because with Sledge, I think your plan is to go pitch 2 blues, attack with Sledge, and pummel. But with the Frostbite, you can't do that effectively.
Right.
But it was like I knew his Heart of Findle was coming back up, so I went down to 1, and he was at 3, and I just attacked with Sledge, and he was able to block 7, pitching the Findle, and I blew up his crown somewhat early into the game. I don't think it's like make or break, but I do think it throws off his math. He's not as effective when trying to Rampart.
I've always said that when you look at the old Amir, look at the armor, and whoever has more armor is probably winning.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But he was only able to block 7, and I had the red pummel, and his last card in hand, I believe, was Blizzard. So,
so you got
I got him with like 3 cards left in deck, and he had like 17. I don't really think the game is about decking the other person. I think like it's more about damage. If you remember playing Starvo Mirrors, it's like the second cycle, it's like you're just getting damage. First cycle, you're just getting rid of your DRs, and the second cycle, you're just kind of, actually hitting them. It's all about damage more than the actual discard effects, right? So, yeah,
that's fair. Yeah,
and that was my day 1.
All right.
Yeah, awesome. So,
yeah. All right. So what was the in record?
I was 5-3 day 1, 1-2 in draft, and then 4-1 in CC.
Gotcha. So with that being said, can we just dive into your Oldhim deck list just a little bit here?
Yeah, actually that's good. Yeah. Let's do that.
So really interesting deck. Seeing it loaded on the Fab TCG. Looking here. So some interesting call outs here. You're running 2 out muscles. Kind of an interesting card. Can you kind of talk through where what matchup you're using that in and how you're using it?
This card is so disclaimer, this is the best card ever. Okay. And then the truth is that it's my friend Spencer's pet card. He had the basis for the list, and for me, I kind of just like tuned it this time. I think Outmuscle is pretty good for your Dromai matchup. And also it's good in Icelander. The secret is really that like if they do block it, you're kind of happy because you want them to expend their efficient trade cards. And if you can just pummel on top of that, then they just lose their entire turn cycle anyway. It's just another go again card. And I don't think it really matters.
So sometimes
it's not a make or break. You don't have to play this
card.
So
you're not necessarily even using it for the go again. You're using it to take the value from your opponent, that's really interesting. So I wouldn't normally think of that. So it's kind of interesting how people kind of stumble upon these things. So we're probably
I think now that the secret is out, maybe they just don't block the out muscle.
If you give it go again, that's
fine. It's the Guardians version. It's like the Guardian version of a Soul Beast Strike.
Yeah,
right?
pretty much.
Good point.
Yeah, no real secret for outmuscle, but it's fine. It's fine.
All right, and then as we kind of climb down this list here and go to the blues, I think this was probably one of the more interesting sections for me to look at because you're running a lot of
Hmm.
two ofs and a lot of one ofs actually. So you got a one of Blizzard, you got a one of Blue Frostfang, one of Blue Icequake, one Blue Pummel, and one Blue Rouse the Ancients. Can you kind of talk through why you have so many one offs? And also just being a person that I typically only run three ofs or two ofs unless if I absolutely have to run like a one of, like for instance like a Pulse or even like a Phoenix Flame if I'm just
Hmm.
doing the one of. But like why do you do the one ofs so often? And then do you have any words to say to the people that don't do one ofs?
Um, I think I'll just go down the list,
No,
perhaps.
yeah.
So Blizzard is a one
Okay.
of because Spencer does
Yeah.
not like drawing Blizzard, and I totally get it. Uh, you have to be really good to get effective Blizzards out, and it's really punishing when you draw it and you don't get a good use out of it, and it just doesn't block, right? So if you draw two, well, one can be used as a defense reaction for Ice React, but the second one you're kind of just stuck with it, and it doesn't block. uh, Originally we started off with like 18 ice cards and we just started trimming ice cards to find room. And so for Blizzard, it was just like it was just another card that we didn't want to play more than one of. We didn't want to see more than one of. Um, for some of the other ones like Cold Snap, I think Cold Snap actually these are all just like utility blues, right? To be honest, all of the ice cards don't matter. You're either going to block with them or you're going to ice react. The thing about this Ultim deck is that it's an ice react deck. I don't play any defense reactions because I'm just going to ice react you
Yeah,
every
that
turn.
is your D react.
If yeah,
Right.
something we noticed during our gameplay was we didn't really want to side in sinks for many matchups. Um, when you build your deck, you have like 60 cards, right? Like you don't really want to go over 60. So
Mm-hmm.
if I can't find any cards to cut and I'm never bringing them in, then I'm just going to cut the sinks. So that's why like there's no defense reactions in this list, and I'm happy to just like block a three against five and then ice rack them. So the ice blues don't really matter. I just found that there's a lot of utility that you can get out of just the different ones, and it also kind of reminds me of if you've played Flesh and Blood, or sorry, if you played Magic, and people have the different fetch lands. Like maybe they only need blue mana, but they have like
Mm-hmm.
two of each of the four different fetches that gets blue, just so like maybe you get the slight percentage that your opponent doesn't know what you're playing, or for Pithing Needle or whatever. This is just like I'm almost never going to play these blue cards, these ice cards, but if I do, maybe I get some utility out of it. And Cold Snap was excellent. um Ice Quake is really cool because you can it works on Command and Conquer, I believe. So yeah,
It
there's like
does.
just
Yeah.
these like
Yeah.
small things, and that's why there's a bunch of like two O's or one O's. And for Rouse basically is just another go again card, but we couldn't like find room because we're playing so many ice cards, and it was just worse than something like Zealous or
Dude,
Outmuscle.
I love that. Yeah, Wesley used confusion.
Mm-hmm.
It was super effective. No, yeah, I think it's like kind of a really interesting list here that you got going on. So, and then just kind of like a side point, I kind of noticed that as a five player that the old hymns who I beat weren't ice reacting, but the old hymns I lost to they were ice reacting like crazy. Um, and it
Yeah, ice reacting is really punishing. It's why I switched off the deck, because if they're ice reacting me every turn, I just can't play a coherent game. I can't just be hitting you for Enlightened Strike for 7 every turn. You know what I mean? Like that's what you're
Yeah.
playing
Yeah.
into Old Tim's plan, and then they're just keep on disrupting you. 3 Crush of the Week, 3 Choke Slams. I think there should be like 15 attacks, one for one per hand on average. So I think it has a pretty good fight matchup.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Having your record, or I'm sorry, is there anything else you want to type on the deck
Oh
list?
no, we can yeah. We're good.
No. Okay. Cool. Because this is what I'm curious about. Having your record and how you had it for the CC portion, and you can even include your top 8 games.
Mm-hmm.
If you can go back, would you choose Oldham again, or would you choose a different hero?
Definitely Oldham. I
Okay.
think Oldham didn't have a really
Made the
good
right
representation
choice.
in top, but I think I had a good matchup into all of the top 8. I think,
I'd agree. I actually had good hope for you
yeah,
in the
I
top
think
8.
my friend Alan Lube sent over like a screenshot of like a poll of who people would think would win, and I had like the lowest at 4%, probably just because people didn't know who I
They
was,
just
which is
didn't know
which is
you.
totally
Yeah.
valid, right? But I
Mhm.
think my matchup spread was pretty good. Maybe it would have been better if I started on the other side of the bracket. But the hardest matchup to me was probably just like Michael Hamilton Icelander. I play a more
Mhm.
aggressive version of Oldhim, so I feel like I have a better matchup than traditional Oldhim against Icelander. And I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
matchup is already pretty close. So other than that, yeah, I think the deck is pretty good into Briar, and it's apparently really good into Dromai. Um, Spencer tests against one of the local Dromai players from Arizona, and
Mhm.
he says that like the aggressive lists for Oldhim is just impossible for Dromai to beat. You just can't block enough
Yeah.
sometimes.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with that 100%. No, I'm with you. I mean, obviously I was with you. I mean, I chose Oldham as well, but um, yeah, I think he was a great meta call, which is what I'm going to use as the transition into the next day, where after the draft portion, which you killed because you went 3-0 in that one, right?
Yeah,
That was good old Jeremiah. You said, "Man, I love playing Illusionist so much
exactly.
that I'm going to play it for Blitz." And you made the meta call, which was absolutely correct, to play Prism. So going into that, because there wasn't a ton of Blitz, like there wasn't a huge amount of Blitz tournaments. Um, all we had was a skirmish, and then I think we had like Vietnam did one or something. But we didn't have a lot of like results. So going in, choosing Prism, I would expect that you had some expectations that it would be a high amount of Icelander or Oldham. But yeah, tell me what you were thinking, what brought you to that decision.
I think a lot of people were on Ultim anyway, because Pulse is not banned, and sometimes you just turn one
Yeah,
Oak Fuse
Oakenol's
them.
back.
People
Yeah.
are tempted by that, and I know there's always gonna be Ultim players as long as Ultim is in
Hmm.
Blitz. He's really solid. For Icelander, I think it was more of a surprise at first because I think Brendan Patrick won the ProQuest
The PTI
PTI event
event.
at Battleheart in
Yep.
Dallas,
Yep.
putting that deck back on the map, kind of like, hey, we don't need Storm Striders, we still win. I wasn't really a firm believer of the deck because I thought um, in CC, the reason why that deck is good is because you keep parity by trading effectively throughout the game, and then
Hmm.
at the end of the game, you have an extra 7-ish damage. You have an extra turn and 7-ish damage to close out.
Yep.
Whereas
Yep.
that's not possible in Blitz. So I was actually pretty skeptical of Icelander, but through the rumor mill, I feel like I heard a bunch of people saying, "Oh, Icelander's great. People are having great success just converting the Hamilton list into Blitz." And originally, I was thinking I was going to play Chain. Um, our local Chain player Peter loves
Yep.
talking about how great Chain is. I think Chain is really good, but I am not very practiced on Chain, and we tried testing Icelander into it, um, and I think I won a game, and then I lost some games, but I think it was because I was not very proficient at Icelander, and I felt like maybe Icelander can really slow down Chain with cards like Hypothermia, Channel,
Right. Blizzard.
Blizzard. I know Chain has like a lot of blues, but sometimes your shackles don't go well. There's like a lot of factors, and because I was not practicing Blitz at all, I figured I want to play Prism because I just want free wins. And I was testing with Emmanuel Onyate, and it was me, Spencer, and Emmanuel had the Prism deck, and I was like, hey, can you just send me your list, and I'll just trust what you have. And that's kind of what I took. And Emmanuel actually top 8'd the Battle Hardened at Worlds as well with the same Prism list. So I think Prism was just the right call. I ended up playing against Icelander round 1, Oldhim round 2, and then Icelander for the last 3 rounds.
Wow.
And
That's
it's
a
the dream, right? So like,
yeah,
I think Rob Catton, the other top 8 player, was the only chain player in the winners meta. So yeah, I made the right choice. It was like getting lucky with the furnace and then picking the right deck.
You know what? It's the main character plot armor, right? I mean,
so close.
You had a rough first day, but the second day, little montage coming up, fighting through, just taking it all the way.
Yeah, the second day
that you played.
Actually, the night before, I had like spicy hot pot at this place called Haidi Lao, and like the second day, I was just like, my stomach was not agreeing with me. So after every round, I had like 5 minutes to run to our trailer bathrooms and being like, oh, yeah, not going well. All right, I have to run back now. And so I was on edge the whole time.
It wasn't an easy day despite the matchups. Yeah. Well, all right, yeah. So you go. That's 8-0 on the second day, undefeated the second day. Did you think with that record, did you know you were in, or did you think, oh, I could bubble here?
I think, I don't know, because like going into day 2, I was 5-3. I was kind of like, I'm just gonna play some games, yeah. And then I 3-0'd the draft, and I was like, maybe, but I'm not getting my hopes up. And then I keep getting paired against like these favorable matchups. And I think I actually played Michael Hamilton in round 15.
Okay.
I think it was like a backup camera match. And I think with the wind, he told me that I'm basically locked, but not exactly. I think he said a lot of the X4s make it in. And if I were to lose in my last round, then I would be one of the higher X4 seeds because of how Flesh and Blood tiebreakers work, right? It's based off of your most recent round loss. So I think I was locked at that point. I had an interview with Tannen Grace, and he was like, "Oh, we're gonna say you're soft locked," and I'm like, "This is I don't know. I would feel really bad if I wasn't, but luckily,
that's Caster's curse, like just lining up."
I know. It was oh man, and then I played against Daniel in the final round, the U.S. finalist, national finalist, and I was like, should I ask him for a concession? And I think I was actually paired up. He was, I think, gonna be the first seed if he beat me, and he wanted to play for first seed. And I guess luckily he lost to me because he would have played Michael Hamilton round 1. But I think I was actually locked by that point. I would have been one of the higher X4s, even if I lost.
So you had a good idea, which is always nice. So really, after being Michael Hamilton, that's when things looked pretty positive.
Yeah, I think the funny thing is, like I said, I wasn't very practiced for Worlds, so I felt like I was actually just aiming for the 1500. I was like, you know what? If I make my money back and I have some fun, maybe I can plug my YouTube. I was aiming for the top 32 because at Pro Tour 1 and Pro Tour 2, I was like top 64 and just like always just one game shy of getting that PTI to like feel like more secure about, oh, well, I know what to do for Worlds, I'm going to be good. And so it was really hard for me. But then like, top 8, here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about that. So I'm gonna do some background here. So, on my first top 8, I didn't get any sleep at all. I was hella or I wasn't nervous, but I was like anxious. I was like excited. Like it was just basically didn't get any sleep at all. And I did terrible at that one. The worst draft. I ended up having to use
Oh.
like 2 crack baubles in my deck. It was terrible. Um, second top 8, I was like, okay, I learned. I put on some ASMR so I can go to sleep, knock me out. Um, I got made sure I got good sleep that day or that night, and I still lost my first round, but I felt much better into
Mhm.
that one. So I'm curious, what was your the night before experience?
Um, Night before, one of my friends, I had some plans to meet with my friend, who is a local from San Jose. Uh,
Oh, cool.
I don't know if he wants me to name drop him, so I'll keep it for
Good
now.
friend.
He's a good friend. Uh, we just go for like some pho, some Vietnamese food. But the funny thing is, like,
Uh-huh.
that's pretty much all we ate the entire weekend. um, which is like it was good. It was good. And then we actually get home. Not get home. We actually get back to the hotel early. We got back at like 9:30. And
Okay.
a couple of our friends, Travis, Maxwell, they were like, "Hey, if you want to test, we can play, and then we can test the matchup, get you ready for tomorrow, get ready for Briar." And I was like, nah, I'm just not gonna test. It doesn't
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah.
actually
Okay.
matter. I asked
Yeah.
my friend
Yeah.
Spencer, was like, give me the sideboard, like map it out for me, what I should do. Um, so I had the plan going in, like I knew what I needed to do. And I think I sleep okay. We also got an extra hour because of
Okay.
daylight savings.
That's true.
So
That
that was
is
like the
true.
luckiest thing, right? Like that weekend was
Yeah.
super lucky for me. But I think, you know, it was fine. But the day of, in the top 8, I made the decisions that I wanted to make. Like I made it the trades that I wanted to make, and I don't think any of them were necessarily misplays. I could have made
Hmm.
different plays, but I chose to flip the flip 50-50 that I wanted to flip, right? So
Right.
like I think that the main one that I keep thinking back on is like the lightning press, right? Um he plays a
Right.
Channel Mount Heroic, he attacks me, and I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna block you, and I'm just gonna ice react you. The reasoning
Yep.
being, it was like I would rather it not be like another attack for Channel Mount Heroic. So my ice react can trade 7 damage. And if it's a lightning
Yeah.
press, then it's a lightning press. At least you won't have it for next turn. So both
Hmm.
outcomes seemed favorable for me. But I think like I read a lot of people saying like, oh, he got him with the lightning press bait. I'm just like, I don't. I think, when players make plays, there's probably a lot more that goes on to it that you might not see at the surface level. And I think like I made like all the plays that I made. It was like I wanted to make that trade, and if it was favorable for me,
Yeah.
then it was favorable for me. If not, then
Yeah,
it was not.
exactly.
Yeah. I have no doubt being in like the top 8 at Worlds on for any player that that player did not think and like performed
Mhm.
what they wanted to perform. You know, I don't think anyone's playing
Yeah, there
loosely
there are
at that point.
calculated risks that we all take as players, and some of them may be looser than others. Some people may play a little bit tighter, and like it's not like an ice reaction is like infallible, right? Like there are counters to it, and it's
Right.
reacting back, right? So yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's kind of interesting,
Hmm.
but yeah, I think it's really good to that's where people find success is by taking their own calculated risks, and some people, some opponents aren't ready for that risk that your opponent's willing to take, and that's how you edge out games. So yeah, I think
Mhm.
that's a really good point, and glad that you're able to stick to your guns there.
Yeah, I think like the biggest thing is I don't feel regret about the game. I think it was like a really good camera game, and I think like my opponent played perfectly. And
Yeah, it was a
towards
good
the
game.
middle, I started realizing like I have like 1 or 2 turns because he still had full armor, and
Hmm.
we were getting like below 20. That's when I was like, this is not looking well for me. But I don't think I regret any of the decisions I made. Maybe some card choices could have been different, but overall, I think I was happy with like the decisions that I made.
So you probably, so I'm guessing then you walked out of that game, even though with an L, that you felt overall like you did what you had to. I'm like, yeah. What was the experience? What was the experience coming out of that
I
game?
think I felt pretty good. I think Peyton Liao is like I think he was like the Taiwanese national champion or something, right? He has like
Okay,
all the
yeah.
people in the top 8 has accolades besides me, which is like the best place to be, right? Just being the underdog, like
Yeah.
no one knows who you are, just some random person.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt super good about that. I think what was really good for me, the takeaway from the tournament was earlier I mentioned in CC I was like 17th under Pablo,
Yep.
and I was like, how is Pablo Pintor ranked 16 in the ELO when he won a whole pro tour and he top 8'd a second?
Right.
Well, if he lost in the top 8, it's just extra ELO for him to lose, right? But basically, I feel like I played against some other players in constructed, but I haven't played like any of the, the Michael Hamiltons or, Daniels or Pablos, and up until Worlds. I haven't played against any of like the super big names, and if I did, I lost to them. So at Worlds, I actually played against a lot of people that I recognize from their previous accolades, and it felt like I actually like I beat them, but to be fair, I picked the right deck against them. So I chose my battle to be like, I'm gonna get free wins from you because I feel like maybe I'm not better than you necessarily, but I'm gonna pick the right deck. So that's where my
Mm-hmm.
strength was, and I feel like I still had to play the games, and I still got there. That's what was like really rewarding for me. So now it's like, oh, I actually did beat all these great players.
Yeah.
Yeah, Worlds was
Yeah.
super rewarding for me.
Yeah. That's
It's
awesome.
nice to have
That
that
is awesome.
validation that you can keep up with the top dogs as well. So,
Yeah, exactly.
I like that, by the way, the townies champion.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
I've lost to Eric. I've lost to our friends Alberto, and everyone in between. Um, so I think like everyone has a shot at this game for sure.
I honestly think that's the best. I mean, whenever I first got a top 8, that's when I started to like tell my friends. That's when I was trying to get. That's when we actually got a Montana scene, because I was like, look, guys, I can do it. Y'all can do it.
yeah,
Mm.
You know.
Yeah, I think.
oh,
Go
I
ahead,
mean, I'm
Jonathan.
just to say like, there's nothing scarier than a person that has like nothing to lose. And I think like once
Oh
you get to
yeah.
that point where you lose the nerves and like you get into those games and you're not as like starstruck with like the flesh and blood famous people, I think that's where you start really seeing the success in the game. And like,
Hmm.
yeah, I think I really do think like it opens up an opportunity for anyone to be good, which also makes the game tough, right? Is that like you have to respect every single opponent, but at the same time you don't want to over respect them to where you're not playing the game that you need to play.
Yeah, exactly. I think like I've always thought I was okay, um, and I always like, but like we do really well in the local scene. You know what I mean? Like we can travel to the different states and we win pro quests. When other people travel to our pro quests, we defend our town, kind of thing. Like I think I was pretty good, but then like to finally be able to break out of the top 64, I was like, oh, finally.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a relief where it's like, when people say you're good, but you're just like, I haven't won anything
Right.
or topped anything yet, so I can't really say. So that was the feeling for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great, and well
Thank you.
deserved. I remember like seeing you afterwards, and I saw how like the look on you, and I remember that look, and it's just that calm. You're like, it's over. I did it. Like you feel good with it, and yeah, you look good. Like even though you came out with an L, like you look like you came out with a W for the weekend.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was huge. Now your name is
Yeah.
enshrined in the website of Fab
Oh
TCG.
yeah.
Well, I remember the first time Jonathan got to see your name. We were watching the pro
Oh,
tour.
okay. Did you
Yeah,
guys see
and
the game with Hayden or no Sasha?
Yeah, yeah, it
yes, I
was
think it was
that.
with the
Yeah,
one with Sasha. Yeah.
that's when we fully assimilated to the Dong squad. So
Oh yeah. Raise your
Yeah, yeah.
dongers,
I
my
was like,
let's
friends.
oh, I
go,
know
let's
this guy.
go.
Yeah. We were chanting for the Dong.
Yeah, that game was actually like, it was like a really good game. People like don't like how Fi and Briar are high rolly, but I'm like, dude, that was a 3 blue Fi hand, and I almost got him with a razor if only he was at 6 instead of 7.
Dude, it was so close. I remember that. It was so
but
close.
It was like I played my hand and he played his hand. I think it was a good showcase of like what the heroes could do. Yeah.
Well, cool, man. I greatly appreciate you coming on. Congratulations once again to be amongst the top 8, amongst the echelon of the top 8 in the worlds. You are, without a doubt, the best player in Vegas at this point. I would think that's fair to say. And then, further out beyond that. So, if only Michael Hamilton wasn't an American, maybe we could crown you as the best player in here.
Oh man, that reminds me. If I had won my top 8 match, then it would have been like 4 US players in the finals or the semis.
We would have dude, it took us a while. We didn't get it when the Pro Tour was here, right? Pablo got it, right? The damn Spaniard. Okay. And then when we went to Europe, Matthew Folks got it. So, they defended their title. And it was like, yo, Americans aren't showing up. Dude,
people were trash talking the US so much. I'm just like, come on, guys.
Yeah. But we came in strong in the top 8 and we finished.
Yeah. I think there are probably a lot more US players than the other countries, but
yeah, we'll get wrecked. I don't care.
Exactly.
Let's
USA.
All right. Well, cool. Let's not forget. You have a YouTube channel. You do a bit of content. How can people find you, Wesley?
Oh man, currently it's hard. I need to get a few more subscribers so I can get my custom URL, but
we're gonna give you a bump.
You could find me on Rare Hunter. You probably have to like type Rare Hunter Fab currently to find me. I make vlog videos of when I go to tournaments. I make some old school deck videos where it's like in person, and hopefully I'll have some more content that lives up to the Rare Hunter name in the upcoming future.
Thanks for the
I'm excited.
Thanks for the shout out. We'll definitely put your socials and the link below on this video so that those who want to reach out to you can do so. So thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, there's some charm in your videos, that's for sure. I quite enjoy them.
Thank you, Eric. Eric approved.
All right. All right. Well, thank you to all who have watched and listened to this podcast. Another great guest. We'll continue to get them. The more subscribers we get, the more views we get, the better off we will be. And that is all thanks to you guys. So I appreciate it. And thank you once again, Mr. Wesley Dong, Mr. Jonathan Wyatt. And we will see you all in the next one. But until then, keep on fabbing.
Keep on fabbing.